Hey, how you guys doing today? It is me again. They do call me Kraken, and I am the mind behind Liberty Woodworks. Okay, what we are doing today, I'm bringing this out here to show you. All right. This is my plunge router. Give me 1 second because I need this too. I have to have coffee. Coffee is life. All right. This is my plunge router. Okay. So this whole series that I'm working on right now is called Backyard Builder. And the idea behind the Backyard Builder series is that you don't have to have a professional shop. You don't have to have the highest end tools. You don't have to have the best stuff in order to accomplish good quality woodworking. Okay? But at the same time, with that being said, you do have to have some tools, and you do have to have tools that are going to do your job. And I am a fan, I guess you could say, of Harbor Freight. Okay, I buy a lot of my tools at Harbor Freight because if you're careful about what you buy, you'll find that some of the Harbor Freight tools are more than sufficient to do what you need to do as a backyard builder or a hobbyist. Now, I'm a little bit more than a hobbyist. Okay, I actually have a business making woodworking, but it's a home-based business. It is not a expensive, high-end business. All right. In other words, what I mean is that I work a full-time job. I work in a job that pays me not just a weekly income, but also pays my 401k, my insurance, and all of the stuff that comes with that. All right, I get a paid vacation every year, and so on and so on. I have sick days and all that. With a home-based business, with my woodworking business, I don't have any of that. I don't have a 401k. I don't have insurance. I don't have dental, vision, life. I don't have paid vacations. I make my money based on what I'm able to sell, and I'm not a high volume shop. Okay, so I don't put out thousands and thousands and thousands of stuff on a big production line. Everything I make is handmade. It takes time. So I can't really afford to pay for a big shop. I can't afford to pay for the highest end tools. And as I sell things, I reinvest that money into my business to buy the hardwood lumber that I need, to replenish the tools that I need, and to fix some of the tools that I need. And this is where we come into this problem. So we've been building this, okay? We've been building this, and this is almost finished, okay? We have to put a finish on it. There's a little bit more sanding to do, but we have built this. And part of this build was in this tray down here. So you see this tray that is right in here. We used a flush trim router bit and a template from Crafted Elements in order to build that. This is the template sitting underneath this plunge base right here. We use this template. The problem with it is, this is the router that I had. This is my plunge base router. This is the router that I used. Okay, so the problem with this is that, first, this thing is enormously fucking heavy, right? Excuse the French, but I do tend to curse a little bit. This is enormously heavy, right? Which makes it difficult to move around, makes it difficult to work with. Second is the plunge action on this is very stiff, very, very difficult to work with. And I mean, you can kind of hear it, right? You can hear it. Now, does that mean I can't plunge with it? Yeah, I can plunge with it, but it's difficult. to work with. Another thing is it's always trying to pull up. So while you're trying to maintain a consistent depth in order to do these bowl cuts, this thing is moving with. Second is it's got slop in it. So you see the slop, and that what that slop does while you're working and you're pulling on this or pushing on this side and pushing on this side, it's causing that slop to tilt just that much. Okay, and what happens when your bit is all the way down at the bottom and you push, see, I push, it's not a lot, but it's enough, because when I push, what happens is that this tip tilts, and as it tilts, it gouges the bottom of the box, and it creates uneven cuts along the bottom of the box. All right, and so the third problem is that keeping this in the lowered position can be difficult. It wants to rise, it wants to come up. The third problem is that the base isn't big enough. So when we get over to this line right here on the router, we tilt. See, we tilt both directions. There's nothing to support the base. The base is too small on it. Now, this isn't necessarily a fault with the router itself. I mean, that's the same case with this base right here. So we get, over here, well, maybe, we get here and we tilt. We have the same problem, which is what this is for, right? That's what this piece of plastic's for. We're going to deal with that problem. This router, the Chicago Electric router, really kind of frustrated me, and it really got me to the point where I was questioning whether or not I wanted to do these bowls. And it added a good hour worth of sanding time to this project, cleaning it up. And of course, I'm not counting that time in the build process. That just is what it is, part of the learning process for me. So yes, I am a proponent of Chicago Electric, not Chicago Electric, but Harbor Freight tools. Chicago Electric's their lowest end tools. I really don't care much for them. But some of them do work, and they do what you need them to do. I am a proponent of Harbor Freight, and a lot of times you will hear me say that you should consider going to Harbor Freight to get some of your tools, because with slight modifications, those tools can be as good as any of the higher end tools and accomplish what it is that you need to accomplish with them. This is not one of those times, okay? This router, thumbs down. Yeah, it'll do the job, but it's going to work you to death doing it. So we're going to take this and we're going to set it aside, and we're probably going to put this up on Marketplace for sale for about $20. All right. Let me just set this out of the way over here right now. What I did was I went to Lowe's today. To buy this Lexan plexiglass. And the reason that I bought the Lexan plexiglass is so that I can create a larger router base so that I can work with this right here. And that's what we're doing right now. While I was there, I looked at their routers. And as I'm sure you've already figured out, I decided to buy the Skil router. And so what we did was, oh golly, see, I can pick that up and move around with one hand if I can get it loose from everything else that it's in. All right, we bought the Skil router. Let's get this out of here. It has a dual base, and hopefully I can figure out how to get this out of here. Maybe I'm going to need to read the instructions, right? That's a unique idea, right? Read the instructions. Ah, there we go. There it is. Who needs instructions anyway? All right, so that comes out, and this goes in. All right, let me find my slot here. There we go. This goes in somehow. Does it matter? Yes, it matters. Maybe I should read the instructions. Maybe it would help if I read the damn instructions. Who needs instructions anyway, right? The instructions are overrated. It's got a little arrow in there. You'd figure that it would match up. So anyway, this goes in here. We'll figure it out. Oh, might help if I unlock the damn thing. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. I'm gonna need to read instructions because I don't know how this goes in there. Anyway, one of the things that we wanted to look at is this, and there's no slop at all in this plunge base, none. Like, I can get it to move, but that's the table flexing, not the deal here. Let me look at instructions. I hate reading instructions, right? You know, it's something simple, you know. You shouldn't have to read the instructions for this. At least that's what I say, right? Okay, to install the motor in the plunge base, turn the motor off. It's unplugged. Place the base on a flat surface with the back of the plunge base facing you, which is this piece here. So with the back of the plunge base facing you, open the motor clamp A and make sure that the plunge action is in the up position, which it is, and the plunge depth locking lever B is locked. All right, so there we go. We did that. With the motor housing slot C aligned with the motor slot C aligned with the plunge base pin D, which is here. Okay, I got you. All right, I got you. There's a little pin in here. There you go. Look at that. When you read directions, ah, shit, fuck a direction. When you read the directions, things tend to work a whole lot better. All right, so with this in here, we have no flex at all. Just maybe just a hair, but not enough to cause any tilt. The action is super smooth on this, super smooth, right? Our depth adjustment, our depth collar here, really nice. This is one thing that was lacking in the Chicago Electric, is this all the way down. This piece right here, let's see if I can show you the stop collar right here. So this piece right here hit this piece here before you could get all the way down, where this one doesn't have that problem. Okay, it probably weighs half the weight of the Chicago Electric, so I'm pretty happy with it right now. I really think it's going to be a decent router, so happy with it, especially now that I can figure out how to put it together. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to build an expanded base for this, and what I want is a base that no matter where I am on the template, I have contact enough to keep a stable surface. So that's what I'm working on right now. And so I think that it's going to be a pretty good sized base, but that's really what I need for doing what I'm doing. So I'm thinking that if I overlap about a 1/2 inch on each side of this, and maybe because this is longer than it is wide, maybe if I go a 1/2 inch on this side, a 1/2 inch on this side, and maybe a full inch on both sides here, and then we'll find that middle point, and that's what we're going to cut, and that's what we're going to use for a base. And so that's what I'm going to do. Give me a second here. I went inside just a few minutes ago in order to get a marker, and so I need my square here. There we go. I need this I bought this at Harbor Freight also for $3 or $4, and no, it's not the best. And for measuring, you may want to go a little bit more expensive, but it does a decent enough job that I'm not worried about going out and buying another one right now. By the way, this skill router that I bought was $119 at Lowe's. And so I do want to say this while I'm figuring out these dimensions. Let me talk while I work. And I do want to say this, is that as a hobbyist, you might not be interested in buying all of the most expensive tools, and that's perfectly understandable. You know, if you're not in this to sell, then it's maybe not worth going and spending you know, whatever on a tool. But if you're going to be in woodworking, and if you're planning to do woodworking, you cannot expect to do woodworking with no tools at all. And yes, you can build with minimal amount of tools, right? I would never say that you couldn't do that, because you absolutely can. You can build with little to no tools at all. However, the problem comes in when you're trying to make money selling these things. And if you're never going to do this to make money, then this doesn't really matter. You can take as long to build as you want to take, and if it takes you a year to build a project, then cool, it takes you a year to build it. It's not that big of a deal if you're not trying to make money off of it. If you are trying to make money off of it, time is money, right? Time is where your biggest cost is. I had a conversation with somebody at one point who was wanting to know how much he should charge for something. He had built a product, and he was asking the question, how much should I charge for this? And so I asked him, how long did it take you to build? And his answer to that question is, why does that matter? Why does that matter? Well, if you can't figure out why that matters, I don't know what to tell you, man. You know, I just don't, because time is your biggest cost in woodworking. We were talking in my live video on Facebook about this valet table that I built, and one of the things that I mentioned in this valet tray that I built was that I did not have build plans for this. I did not have dimensions for this. I didn't really have an idea when I started it exactly how it was going to look, and the ideas that I had, I discarded and changed. That process of designing this and building the prototype took about roughly 1.5 times what the actual build time was. And so I can't charge a customer for the design time, right? But I can charge the customer for the build time. And if you subtract all of the playing around with ideas and changing things up and all of that, if you subtract that from my build time, I've probably got 5 hours in that build. But in actual build time, had I had a plan worked out, and had I known where I was going with it from the start, the actual build time on that is only about 3 hours. It took me about 3 hours to build it. Now that 3 hours was over a period of 3 days, because there were 2 different glue ups in here. Actually, there was 1, 2, 3 different glue ups, 4, 5, 6. There were 6 total glue ups in here that I did over a period of 2 days or 3 days. And so, but in actual physical time working on the product, I have about 3 hours in it. And 3 hours is what I'm going to charge for it. I charge, at my current time, I charge $25 an hour for my woodworking skills. So when I figure a cost for this, just my time alone in this is $75. Okay, that's just my time alone. So yeah, time is the most expensive part of this build. In material cost in this, I've got maybe 20 bucks, right? There's maybe $20 in that, all told. And so when you look at your time, $75 in time, $20 in product cost, and then I have a modifier built into my price to pay for tool replacement, to pay for sandpaper and glue and all of that. This is part of the reason for that, because when you need a tool, you need the tool, and you need to be able to replace it. And if you haven't worked the replacement cost for your tools into the cost of your product, then you're just losing money. Okay, so yes, if all you're doing is building gifts and giving gifts away, then yeah, you could build with a trim saw, a circular saw, jigsaw, orbital sander, and a few hand tools, maybe a trim router. No big deal, right? But if you're going to actually spend any time doing woodworking, and you're actually going to try to produce a quality product that you can sell, you absolutely need to buy some tools. Give me a couple minutes and we are going to go cut this plate down, and then we're going to figure out where we're going to put our holes at. Okay? Be right back here in a few minutes. All right, we are back. We cut that plastic down to a workable size here. And now what we need to do is we need to figure where our center is on it. And so we have this peel off coating on it, so I can draw on it without messing up the plastic. But honestly, I don't really care if there's any marks on it or not anyway, So, but what we're going to do is we're just going to go corner to corner, and we are going to draw a line corner to corner, and that will give us our center hole. Okay, now we need to take this base off, and it looks like we just need a basic screwdriver for that. That one will work. My screwdrivers came from Harbor Freight. Let's take this base off. There's only 3 screws that hold this base on. You can buy these base plates, these expanded base plates, from several locations. This template that I got came from Crafted Elements, and I do believe that Crafted Elements sells a router base plate for doing their templates. And I do believe that they're fairly inexpensive. And the problem is that they don't have one for a Harbor Freight. Well, I was hoping that would line up, but it doesn't. They don't have one for a Harbor Freight router. Now, the hole pattern on a Harbor Freight router might match up with another router's hole pattern, but I don't know that. So I didn't order a larger plate from them because I wasn't positive that it would fit. And I need to get this bowl done today that I'm doing, and so I need this today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make one. That's what we're going to do. I'm just kind of eyeballing this and trying to get it as centered as possible. And so what I'm going to do is I've got it kind of set where I think it's center, and we're going to see. So we're just going to slide this up to here. I'm not even actually looking at what the measurement is. All I need is the spacing. So we're gonna set that there, and then we are going to set that here. And we are just so close, but not quite. Move it over just a hair. We're gonna reset this. This is, I mean, I'm sure there's a better way to do this, but a lot of times I don't really have the time or the inclination to seek out a better way to do something if I can make it work. Oh, look at that, that's perfect. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we are going to make a mark here and here, and that tells me where my outer edge on that is in case this gets moved. Okay, this part is not quite as easy because this is a flat part here and a rounded part here, so the spacing between the end of this to here and the end of this to here is not going to be the same. So what I am going to do is I'm going to reference off of the flat base, and what we're going to do is just try to see if we are square to that side, and it will do what I need it to do. Okay, so we are here, and we're just going to ride over, and it looks like, okay, so without locking anything in, it looks like we're good. We're going to go ahead and lock this in, and we're going to try it. Nope, we're just a hair off. So what we're going to do is we're going to twist this just a bit. We're going to apply a little bit of pressure on it, but not so much that it can't move. And we're just going to slide this back and forth, and it looks like we're good. So we're going to run a reference point right here. Okay, now this is our distance here, and I don't know what has been cut off of the radius, so I'm just going to assume it's about a 1/2 inch. And so right now we are at 2 5/8. So let's see where we're at over here. And right here we are at 2 3/16. Not quite 3/16. We're about a 32nd short of 3/16. So this is good enough for me. For what I need it to do, this will work. So what we're going to do now is we're going to come in here and we're going to draw where each of these holes are. Right. The main thing we're concerned with are the screw holes, but all of these holes are in here for a reason. Okay. I don't know what that reason is. but they're all here for a reason. So we're going to leave them here. I need to get that down in there, and it don't want to go. There we go. You got to press down really good on that to get that in there. And we do need those because those are our actual screw holes. Okay. Some of these bigger holes are here to kick the sawdust out when you make your, or you know, whatever you're cutting, that's to kick that sawdust out. And so we're just going to go ahead and create that template, and we don't need the round part of it. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to put an X on each of the screw holes so that I know. All right, there we go. And that should get us, am I wrong or am I right? Oh, I was wrong. Okay, so apparently I put an X over the ones that are not screw holes. But that's okay, as long as I know what's what, I'm good to go. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to drill these holes out. And I am going to try to use my drill press. I don't know if my throat on the drill press is big enough, so if it's not, I'll check that first, and if it's not, then I'm just going to have to use a drill with Forstner bits. We're going to use Forstner bits to drill all these holes out, and we're going to use one of these, this drill. Speaking of which, I'm just guessing that this is the right size, right? I really am just guessing this is the right size. Let me check this before I screw up. Let's see. Yeah, perfect size. And then we're going to use this to countersink the bit. So this is just a high-speed steel countersink bit. That's all that is. I've got one of these around here somewhere, but I didn't want to look for it. So when I bought all of this stuff, I went ahead and bought another one of these. I've also got one of these around here somewhere. Again, I didn't want to look for it. So, yeah, it is what it is. Sometimes I spend more money than I need to spend because I don't want to spend the time to find something. Okay, so next we're going to look at our Forstner bits. And we're going to see if we can come up with the sizes that we need. That one's too small, but that one looks like that is just about the perfect size, maybe just a little bit oversized. Let's see this next one here. I bought these Forstner bits at, let's go with this one. I bought these Forstner bits at Harbor Freight. They are the Warrior brand Forstner bits. They're not the highest quality bit out there. They do the job, and they do it well enough that I haven't seen a need to replace them with anything else. Okay, so I can absolutely guarantee that that's not going to work. The throat on my bandsaw is nowhere near big enough for me to be able to drill this stuff out. So next is to find the Forstner bit for the center hole, and I don't think that I have one. That one is going to have to work. Ooh, that does not leave very much room at all. Okay, it is what it is. We'll make it work. So I'm gonna have to use my drill, and hopefully this goes well, right? It can be a mess, it can be a problem, but we're gonna hope it goes well. I'm gonna see if I can find a sacrificial piece of wood We're going to pause this video real quick. I'm going to see if I can find a sacrificial piece of wood. We're going to set up our drill bit. We're going to try to do everything in here without having to take it outside. So hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, we are set back up. So I've got me a sacrificial piece of wood down here. What this is going to do is, first, it's going to keep me from drilling into my table. Second, it's going to create a backing on the plexiglass that hopefully will keep it from cracking or breaking. Right? We have this clamped down to the table. I've learned through hard experience that anytime you're doing anything like this, you really need it to be clamped down. Okay, and we're using the drill, and we're going to start with the center hole on here. I've taken this and I've put it back up on here in order to kind of look at what we're doing, to see if maybe I had a little bit of room to move these out a little bit if I need to, because there's not a whole lot of room in here, and there just really isn't enough room. There's not enough room to do that. So I either have to use a smaller bit, or maybe I'm going to have to use something a little smaller in here. We'll see. And for right now, what we're going to do is we're going to take our point, our brad point, and we're going to put it right on that X. Okay, right on that X. This hole is a little bit larger than the original hole, which wouldn't bother me. It'd be okay, except for the fact that there is such a little amount of space between these other holes. So we're just going to have to see. I really do not like using Forstner bits on a drill, but we're going to make it work, hopefully. All right, here we go. We're going to go slow because plexiglass can and will break. So we want to go a little bit slow with it. See how it slips in the drill? I just really don't like that. It's one of the reasons I hate using a Forstner bit in a drill. In this case, a corded drill with a chuck would be better than this right here. But this is what I got, so we're just going to keep going slow with it and make it work. We're about a little bit more than halfway through this, and it's just a process. So of course, it probably doesn't help much that my battery's not at full strength, but it is what it is. And this is what I was afraid of, is that this just is, I'm going to probably end up having to redo all these holes. I just don't think it's good enough. We're almost through it. I would already be done with this if this was on my drill press. And I don't have a high dollar drill press. on a drill. It just, I mean, on one of these, you can't get it tight enough. It slips. Tell you what, I have a new battery over here. Let me pull this battery and switch batteries, because that will help. What it's doing is it's catching on the plastic. It's catching on the plastic, and because the battery is almost depleted, it doesn't have enough power to push it through, so it's jamming. And then this, when it jams, this slips. There we go. This is where the high dollar equipment might come in a little bit handy. So we're almost all the way through it. What we're going to do now is we're going to flip this over. So we're going to flip this over like so, and then we're going to clamp it back down. We're just using regular trigger clamps. Some people call them quick release clamps, and they come from Harbor Freight. I bought these like a year ago, and I've never taken the tag off of them. I just, you know, I don't care enough to take it off, so I haven't taken it off. But they come from Harbor Freight. They're very cheap. They do a good job. You can't exert a ton of force with them, but you can exert enough. All right, we're through. We're done with that one. And we'll need to sand that off. But we have our first hole. We have our first hole in there. So this is the beginning of our router template, or router plate. Now, because I'm not happy with where these holes are on here, and it looks like so what I'm gonna do, we're gonna switch to a new Forstner bit, and I'm gonna use a Forstner bit that's smaller than those holes. We're just gonna have to go with a smaller hole. And the purpose of those holes is to give an exit for all of your sawdust. And so ideally you would want bigger holes, not smaller holes. But there's not enough room on the router base to put a bigger hole. Okay, so it just is what it is. All right, now this is the hole that we have, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna go with something a little bit smaller. That is considerably smaller, but what we're gonna be able to do here is to set this so that we have a little bit more of a gap than what we've got right now. And it looks like I might have gotten a little off center with my hole here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have to redo all of this. That's no big deal, we'll manage. So what we're going to do here is we're going to recenter this in the hole that we drilled. That looks about as center as we're going to get. It doesn't have to be perfect, you know, because all this extra stuff is just to make sure that you don't slip off of the piece that you're working on. And if you have a CNC machine, something like this can really be made very easily. I don't have a CNC machine, so for me it's not quite as easy. All right, so we've decided we're going to go with a smaller hole, and what we're going to do here is we're going to set these holes so that this rides the outer edge of the hole, because this is a smaller diameter than what we were originally working with, and so we're going to ride the outer edge of that. So let's just give it a little tap, a little love tap there, and what we're going to do is just put a dot right there. That dot should do us. We're going to do the same thing here, and okay, like I said, these don't have to be perfect. We just need to make sure that there's somewhere for the dust to go, and that we're not underneath this plate over here while we are kicking dust out. But we do need to have enough room between the edge of the hole and the hole for the router bit so that we don't break that plastic. Okay, and so that's essentially what we've done. You can see that I'm a little bit off from my previous holes. I don't know, maybe when I set the Forstner bit in, I was just a little bit off center, but like I said, it's not critical because we're not, like, this doesn't even have to be square, right? It doesn't. It just needs to be there to keep you on the router template. Okay. We're going to put this in here. Hopefully we'll have a little bit better luck with this smaller bit. We're going to bring this down, and we're going to clamp it down to the table. This plexiglass is 1/4 inch thick. I would have rather gone with something that was a 1/2 inch thick, but they didn't have it. So it's 1/4 inch thick. It's pretty comparable to this original template, but this is a higher quality plastic, a higher quality acrylic, whatever you want to call it. Where this is kind of a low quality construction grade type stuff. If you're going to build something like this and you have access to a higher quality plastic, then certainly go for it. It was $36 for the sheet. The sheet was a lot more than I wanted. I'll have to figure out something to do with the rest of it. All right, let's do this. Alright, there we go, we're in it. We want to drill until we get all the way through, and then we'll go to the next hole, or not all the way through, but just so our brad point goes all the way through. And then we'll go to the next hole. Oh, Well, that went all the way through. So what I was gonna do, and it looks like this actually came out okay. What I was gonna do is drill till the brad point went through, and then I was going to come back and flip everything over and drill through the rest of the way. But this went through a lot faster than the bigger one, and it went through pretty clean. Mainly because I have this backer board on here. Okay, we're gonna stop right here, clean this tip out a little bit. This stuff is as much cutting it as it is melting it. All right, and that's because of the low grade plastic. But you know, it is what it is. Okay, we're all the way through on that one, so I'm just gonna go all the way through on all these. And then when we're done, we are going to sand the edges down. So, you know, I've shown you guys 3 of these holes. Sure, you don't want to sit and watch the whole thing. So we're just going to go ahead and pause the video, and we will pick it back up here in a little bit. All right, hold on. All right, we're back, and I am covered in sawdust. We have done one of these bowls. This one right here, and this is just the first pass. It's the first start of it. We're gonna do, as I said before, we're gonna do 2 different bits. So this one is gonna drop it down a little bit further. And I did that. I said in the last part of my video that we had just a slight little bump with one of those screws, but that it wouldn't really make that big of a difference. Well, it made a bit of a difference. It kept catching on the template, so I had to take this apart, use the countersink bit to drill that out a little bit more and put it back in. Hopefully we're good now. What we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and do this second bowl. One of these has got just a little bitty divot in it right here. This one has got just a little bitty divot in it, where yesterday, because I was using the router without the base plate, it tilted. And when it tilted, when I got this far with it and I got up here, it tilted back, and when it tilted back, the blade came up and just barely caught that. So when I finish this bowl, I am going to have to do a little bit of sanding to get rid of that little divot that's in there. It's just something that I'm going to have to deal with, or I'm going to have to buy a new template. You know, this thing's happened. That's why I stopped with this build that I was doing yesterday. That's why I did not do this last night. And it's why I chose to go ahead and buy this acrylic. But on my first pass on this bowl right here, it worked perfectly. Did exactly what it was that I needed it to do. I'm happy with the creation. You know, sometimes you just have to find a solution, right? Woodworking is all about thinking outside the box. Sometimes you just have to find a solution. So what we're going to do, you'll just have to excuse the noise. We're going to cut out this box right here, and we're just going to leave the video on now for you to check it out. So hopefully the noise doesn't bother you too much. If it does, then I apologize. We are on full speed, and this router right here, one of the things I like about it is it's got a digital display. And this digital display tells you how many revolutions you're doing. So we're sitting at 25,000 RPMs, but underneath of that, it also tells you what that setting is good for. And this one says hardwood. It's good for hardwood. Well, that's a good thing because we're doing hardwood. So here we go. going to stop just a minute because we're generating an enormous amount of sawdust in here, and so my tank is almost empty, but we're going to blow some of that out. I do have a shop vac. It would have been a lot less of a mess to use the shop vac. But that would have required me getting up, plugging it in, moving it over here. Maybe I'll do that next time because I got sawdust everywhere. All right, we're back at it. Let's set that to the side over there, and let me get the shop vac. Also, let me turn this heater off because it is starting to warm up outside. And I damn sure don't need that hot sumbitch on. All right. So far, I have been able to do this without me having to stand up. That's important for me because after my accident, I have a lot of parts of my body that really hurt a lot, and standing up and bending over for long periods of time really causes me a lot of pain. So I try to work at about this level right here. That's why my workbench behind me is a lot higher than normal workbenches. Most workbenches are set at about 30 inches. This one is like 34 or 35. It allows me to be able to work without having to bend over, and that's important to me. So I got this shop vac. It's a 16-gallon shop vac, and it does really good for dust collection when I use it. I got it off of Facebook for 25 bucks. It doesn't have all the attachments, but you know, hey, it works with what I need. So we have our bowl cut here and here, and there's a few imperfections in the bottom of it, you know, but it's no big deal because, like I said, this is just our first pass. We're going to be going through with the second pass. And I think I had originally said that we were going to move this template and do the rest of the first pass and then change bits and come back and do everything else, but that's not the way we're going to do it. And the reason for that is because this is held down with double-sided tape, and I've got to peel this tape off in order to move it. So we're going to finish this bowl right here. We're going to do this bowl, get it down to this level right here. Then we're going to change bits, and we're going to switch over to this bit. We're going to knock out all three of these bowls for the rest of the depth, and then we're going to change bits again, go back to this bit that we're using right now. We're going to move the bowl, we're going to extend the cheese tray up to here, we're going to put this one in here, and then we're going to change bits again back to this one, and we're going to finish it off. So after that, it's just sanding, putting a quarter round around the edges, putting feet on the bottom of it. The wife wants a handhold down here. I'm not sure how we're going to make that work yet, but we'll figure it out. If I may not be able to do a handhold right now because I need to create a jig for that, and I don't know that I have a way to do that at the moment. So we'll see. The wife wants it, the wife gets it if I can do it. And this is for the wife. So all right, let's get this second bowl cut. Guys have watched me do this other bowl. The other's the same process. So we'll be back when we're done with that, and we'll catch you guys a little bit later. All right, we have all three of our bowls cut down to this size, and we are about to use the larger bit that I showed you earlier, and we're going to go deeper with these. Then we'll move everything and we'll create the next one. Now, I do want to say that when you change these bits out, it's really important that you unplug the router, because when you're moving it around and turning it and all of that, this switch is actually fairly easy to hit on accident. And the last thing that you ever want in your life is to have your hand anywhere near that router bit while it's spinning at 25,000 RPMs. So just saying, you know what I mean? All right, let's go. Let's start this. We'll show you one of these. We're increasing the depth, so we'll show you one of these, and then we will pause it, do the other two, and then we'll move everything. We'll come back. All right, here we go. Okay, this is the final depth of the bowl. And I don't know how well you guys can see it from your perspective, and I can't really pick this up to show you. But in this smaller bowl, in the very first one that we did, there's a couple of uneven edges on the bottom. And I said earlier that I really wasn't worried about going back and cleaning that up because we were going to make the bowl deeper anyway. This bowl that we just made deeper is perfectly smooth on the bottom. There's no uneven edges at all. We'll have to go through there with about a 220 grit sandpaper, and we'll have to just kind of lightly sand it down to get it down. And there's a couple little burn marks along the edge, but we will go in there and we'll clean those up also with a little bit of sandpaper as much as we can. So the thing is that when I was doing these over here, and I think I only had you on here for one of these. When I was doing one of these over here, you may have seen the router jerk all the way across real fast and try to get away from you. And that's one of the things that I was telling you about when we first started, is that these routers will definitely let you know, right? So the reason that it did that is because we have three different species of hardwood in here. All right, so we have elm, we have black walnut, we have pecan, we have black walnut, and we have elm again. Pecan, the hardness of pecan is a hell of a lot more than the hardness of elm or black walnut. Matter of fact, pecan and hickory have the same hardness. So if you know anything about hardwoods, you'll know that hickory is one of the harder woods. It's harder than maple. And so we're cutting on these softer hardwoods all the way across. The elm has the softest Janka hardness scale rating than the others. Walnut, is up around this elm is around the 900 range. The black walnut is in the 1200 range. The hickory pecan is up in like the $1,700 range, or 1,700 hardness range. So when we go and we switch from it cutting through these hardwoods, the elm and the black walnut, and then it comes through and it hits that pecan, it doesn't want to cut, so it wants to skip over the top of it. It wants to pull across it. And so it's a lot harder to cut through the pecan, and you've got to really keep a firm grip on the router in order to keep it from jerking away from you and force it to cut, right? But at the same time, when you're cutting that pecan, you can't take as much of a bite out of it as you can the black walnut and the elm. So you've got to loosen up on the radius a little bit and take smaller chunks out of it. So anyway, that's what was going on right there. We're going to go ahead and pause the video. We're going to do these other two bowls. When we get ready to move the template, we'll crank it back up again, and we'll bring you in here for the last part of it, which is doing these two over here. So we'll see you here in a couple of minutes. Peace out. All right, we're back, and we have all of our bowls cut. Now it's time to move this thing. So let us do that. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to reposition our deal here, and hopefully we can get it back into this slot here without having to take the yeah, oh well, it was worth a shot, right? So let's take that clamp off. Let's take that clamp off. Let's pull this back down, lift this up, stick it under, lift that up, stick it under. All right, let's get this back in here. Remember, we need enough room on here so that when we are at our furthest point this way, we don't interrupt, we don't touch the clamps. So we need to give ourselves enough room. That ought to do it. Give ourselves enough room here. We're going to turn this around. Let's put this on this side. Try to keep it out of your way. And like I said, I try not to be standing anytime I'm doing anything like this, because this has taken a lot of time. We're 20 minutes into the video, but I've paused this a couple of times, so we're probably 40 minutes or more into the whole build here, or into this part of this build. And for me to stand up and bend over for 40 minutes, it just isn't going to happen. I'm not in a good enough condition for that. And man, this double-sided tape, yesterday this stuff came off really easy. Today, not so much. So we need to get something thin up underneath there. That's not going to tear the stuff up. Like one of those, I don't even know what I'm trying to call it. I've got one, like a paint scraper would be perfect for this. But, and I've got one somewhere. I just don't know where. And that's a problem for me all the time. You know, I'm about as disorganized as they get. So we're going to use this knife. This was a cheapie. It was given to me by Southwestern Electrical Sales. They're one of the vendors for Elliott Electric. That's my day job. I work as a sales rep for Elliott Electric. And that's all you really need to do is just get underneath of it. Be careful not to break it, but get underneath of it and just kind of pry it up a little bit. Once you get it started, it'll come up a little bit easier. There we go. It's starting to come up now. And then just real gently break it apart. And try not to break the template in the process. And this is what our bowl is starting to look like. All right, so I could probably reuse this. I don't know if I'm going to or not. We're going to sit it back down, see if it'll still stick. And if it doesn't still stick, then we're just going to put new tape on it. But if we can reuse it, we're going to reuse it. The whole idea of the backyard builder mindset is that you can build more without spending a ton of money, right? We're not about, we need to balance, and we need to balance having all of the tools we need without spending any more than we have to, right? Yeah, that'll work. So we're going to reuse that. So for me, I don't have a lot of patience for people who are like, you know, well, you're building all this stuff and you know, you've got all these tools and I don't have anything and I need to be able to do high quality work with nothing. I don't have patience for that. I get it. I didn't have anything either when I started. And I built myself up to have the stuff that I need, but I didn't buy high-end stuff. Eventually, maybe I will, but I didn't buy high-end stuff, right? I've got Craftsman tools, right? I've got Craftsman drills, Craftsman orbital sanders. I've got Skill Saw, a Skill brand router. I've got a Skill brand jigsaw. I've got a Hercules miter saw. I've got a Cobalt table saw, a Central Machinery tabletop belt sander, a Central Machinery bandsaw, a Central Machinery drill press. All of my clamps, every clamp I've got came from Harbor Freight, right? The accessory tools that I use all the time came from Harbor Freight, right? And I'm able with those tools, regardless of people's opinions about them, and people do have opinions about them. People will tell you that they're no good. I use them every day, right? I'm not out here building 1 or 2 times a month. I'm out here building every single day. As a matter of fact, I'm out here so much that I had to tell my wife this last week that I'm going to have to start taking a day off just so I'm spending time with the family, you know, and not burning myself out. So I don't have a lot of patience for people who say that they don't have what they need. If you want it, you're going to get it. You know what I mean? You'll find a way, one way or another. You sit down and you look at how much you spend on drinking things like soda waters or buying bottled water from the store, which is, I'm not going to say too much about it because my wife buys bottled water from the store, but that's a concept that is so foreign to me that, you know, I just don't understand it. The only time I buy bottled water from the store is when I'm on the road somewhere and I want some water. Other than that, I drink it out of the sink. You know what I'm saying? My body has an immune system for a reason. I drink it out of the sink. Okay, so I'm not going to talk too much shit about that, you know, because so many people buy bottled water, and my wife is definitely one of them. She buys it by the case, and you know, if that's what she wants to do, then that's cool. My wife wants it, my wife gets it. You know what I mean? But you look at that, you don't have to buy bottled water. You buy bottled water because you want to buy bottled water. You don't buy bottled water because you have to buy bottled water, right? And that's the thing. Look at the amount of money that you spend on things that you don't really need, right? How many candy bars do you buy a week? How many energy drinks do you buy a week? How many times do you go to Starbucks in a week? How many times do you eat out in a week, right? How many times do you spend money unnecessarily on things that you could do without? How many subscriptions to how many different streaming services do you actually have? You know what I'm saying? You know, when you sit down and you answer that question and you look at that, well, there's a reason you can't afford to buy the tools that you need to have, right? There's a reason for that. And the reason is because you're wasting money on so many things that you don't need, that you don't have any money left for the things that you do need. You feel me? So you can do a lot of this stuff without having a ton of expensive tools, but you still have to have the tools. Anyway, what we're going to do now, we just changed out our bit, and what we're going to do now is we're going to cut the second part of this bowl. This last tray right here and this piece right here we're going to cut down, and we're going to do it in 2 passes again. So we're going to cut with the small bit first, then we're going to switch back over to this one right here, and we're going to finish it off with that. All right, let's do this. That one's done. At least the first pass is done. Alright, first pass on that one is finished. Time for the first pass on this one. all told, we've probably got 30-40 minutes in cutting all this out. By the time we're done, I'm going to say we're probably going to be sitting at a solid hour on this right here. Something I haven't mentioned before, and that is when you start these cuts, this is a plunge router, and so you want to make your plunge about a 1/4 of an inch or so off of the edge. You don't want to make your plunge right on the edge. And the reason for that is because that bearing on the top of the bit is what keeps you from cutting into this. And so if you run this bit right down next to the edge, then as that bit is coming down past it, it's going to cut into the plastic. So set it about a 1/4 of an inch off, and then once you get to your depth, bring it over into the template. Went brain dead for a second. All right, let's do this first pass on the second one. Alright, so the first cut on both second bowls is finished. This thing creates a lot a lot of dirt, of dust, dirt, chips, wood chips, whatever, sawdust, whatever you want to call it. It creates a lot of it. All right, let's take this and we're going to change bits. Another thing to keep in mind when you're doing this is that as these bits cut through the wood, they heat up, they get pretty hot. So when you are changing these out, you have to be careful about grabbing a hold of these bits because they are going to be very hot. And I could just chill and wait for them to cool down a little bit, or I could put on a pair of gloves. The problem is that I have an issue with wearing gloves. I don't like wearing gloves, and I know it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's just one of my quirks. I don't care much for gloves, so I don't wear them. So I'm just going to be a little bit careful. And I can feel the heat off of it. The thing is, it's warm. I try to grab it up by the shaft. Ooh, shit, that's hot too. All right. Put your router bit all the way in and then bring it out 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch so it's not set all the way down inside. But you don't want to leave it out too far, as you leave it out too far and it will cause the router to eject the bit, and you don't want that to happen. So you want the majority of your shaft inside the collet, and this is only a 1/4 inch collet, and a lot of people will tell you not to use a 1/4 inch bit on hardwood, that you have to use a 1/2 inch bit on hardwood, and maybe it's preferable. I don't know, maybe it is. I've always used 1/4 inch collet, and it's always worked for me. Every time that you change the bit, every time you need to check your depth and make sure your depth is right. And surprisingly, that's perfect. I don't have to change nothing. All right. This is the last pass. And then after that, we have sanding, roundovers. Got to figure out what I'm going to do about the wife being able to carry this, and see if there's a way that I can create a jig for me to do a handhold, because I don't do those. I don't put those in my stuff. So I don't have a jig for it. And ideally you would use clamps on the side of your workbench, where this would set long ways against the workbench in those clamps, and then you would create a jig that would fit your router. And for that, I would use my trim router, and you would just run straight across. Alternatively, you could use your table router and just create stop blocks, which may end up being what I have to do. I may have to do that with stop blocks. But the problem is I only have about a 1/2 inch of wall right here. And with only a 1/2 inch of wall, if I go too far in with the router bit, then I'll destabilize this. And so I don't know that I'm going to put hand grips in it. Instead, what I may do is chamfer the end of it, so that it slopes inwards and makes it easier to grab a hold of. And of course, we'll have feet on it. So with the feet, we'll be able to offset it off the table. And with all of this stuff cut out of it, this shouldn't honestly be that heavy. So we'll just have to see what we're doing here in a minute. Let's go ahead and do this last pass. All right, let's go for it. Okay, I'm not happy with that. I thought that my setting was perfect, but it's not. It's actually It's actually just a hair too tall. So what we're going to do is we are going to set this to the depth of this bowl over here. So you again pay attention to what you're doing and don't commit to your cut until you're sure that everything is right. So when I got up and I was moving towards the edge, I noticed that the bushing was just a hair over the top of the edge, and had I gone all the way into it, I would have cut the bottom of the edge with the top of the blade. We don't want that. So I aborted it and we've redone it. Now we're going to check it again over here, and now it looks like we're right, so we're going to go ahead and do it. Okay, that bowl is done. It looks like we have just a little bit of a depth issue right here, so we're going to have to do some sanding. We're going to level that out real quick. Okay, so we have about a 32nd of an inch over here on this one that is just a little bit raised. Everything else is pretty much perfect. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to try to fix that without having to spend a ton of time sanding it. We're going to cut this bowl out. We're going to finish the cut on this one. And then when we're done with the cut on this one, we're going to try to move this template again over down to this side and see if we can level that back out again. Probably saw that thing try to get away from me there, and yeah, That was probably the worst pull yet. Yeah, that was probably the worst pull yet. And apparently it got a chunk of wood in there that it didn't like. But we kept it under control. It didn't get away from us. Overall, this has been a much better experience than the Chicago Electric. Okay, we've got a couple little raised edges in here, so we're going to go through one more pass. We're going to just try to even it out a little bit, and if we can't, we'll hit it with sandpaper. Doesn't look like that really did anything. We'll try this spot right here. Alright, that helped quite a bit. We don't have a lot of sanding to do to it, but we do need to do a little bit. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to pull this all the way down to here. Right about there will work. We're going to try to lift this back up again. We use our knife to get up underneath here like we did the last time. And try to lift this back up again. Maybe it'll have enough stickiness to it that we can use it one more time, because what we're going to do now is we're going to move this over again back into the position we first started in. And we're going to try to deal with this depth issue that we have in this little cracker tray right here. And so we're going to try to get this lined up as perfect as we can, you know, and hopefully we have enough stickiness left that it'll hold for just a little bit longer. And it looks like we're on there. Okay, now I have to say that I'm very, very happy with this tape. This tape here has just really been good. I'm glad that I bought it. It is LLPT double-sided tape. It works awesome for this stuff right here, and I'm very happy with it. All right, let's see if we can deal with this, and then we'll be done. Okay, I'm happy with it. Got one little spot over here. Let's get it real quick. Alright, so we still got a few things here that we're going to have to sand. Hey, it's not that big of a deal. The tape's about reached the end of its life, and that's okay too, because we're done with it. Let's vacuum this up. Maybe I got enough air left in here without having to plug this thing in to blow myself off. Good enough. Okay, so this is where we're at, right? This is what we've created. It's actually pretty light, really light, especially considering how heavy it was when I first started. I think the wife will be happy with it, and hopefully she won't convince me to come up with a way to do some handholds on here, because I just don't think it's going to work on this one. Let's get our clamps off. Oh Lord, can't reach that one. Get our clamps off. Come on. Let's get these two pieces of oak out of the way. Uh-oh. Let's get these. Huh. Ain't that something? Either that came unlocked or I haven't had it locked this whole time. If I haven't had it locked this whole time, that may be part of what's going on here with my depth issue. The depth issue is really not an issue. It's very, very, very minor. But it may have been because I didn't have that locked. I'm very happy with the Skil router. It was a really good choice, and I think that it's a world above what I had. I'm sure that a more expensive router by like DeWalt or something like that might give me even more, be even better. But my budget doesn't allow that right now. I'm on a skill saw budget, right? I'm not on a DeWalt budget, at least not yet. We are working to get there, provided our business takes off, and I can make some of this money back. What I'm using right now are sanding pads. These are reusable sanding pads, and I got them off Amazon. They were about $8. You just wash them and reuse them. Very good. Really great for getting into these bowls and for doing stuff like the what am I trying to say? Doing stuff like juice grooves on charcuterie boards. I mean, not charcuterie boards, but cutting boards. Really good for that. But I do think that for some of these little grooves down here, I need something a little bit more aggressive. So we're going to hit it with this. This is a 40 grit. And then we'll come back and we'll smooth that out with this other stuff. We've got this little bit on this edge. The wife really wants to set this up and do a charcuterie tray today, and she may be just a little disappointed that I didn't have it done last night. She went out and bought all the stuff to get it. This was her request for Christmas. We usually focus on the kids for Christmas. We don't really do a lot for us throughout the year. We'll buy each other stuff, you know, if we need something, and then we'll be like, you know, hey, that's your Christmas present, you know. And but I always like to try to give her something, especially something she wants, and she's been wanting one of these for a while. And so I wasn't able to do it before because I didn't have the templates, and so she didn't really say much because she knows that I'm on a budget. So she didn't want me to go out and spend a bunch of money buying stuff like this unless I was going to make it part of my business. And so I've known for a while that she kind of wanted something like this, and I planned to make it part of my business for a while. And I made enough money prior to Christmas off selling stuff that I got all of the tools that I needed, and I had a little bit left over, so I started buying this stuff here and getting this stuff ready. But I didn't have everything that I needed to be able to do this, so it's taken me this amount of time to get it done. Well, this was her request, so she gets it, right? This is a 40 grit sandpaper. It is extremely aggressive, and it does leave scratches in the wood that take quite a bit of work to get out. But we'll get it out. But it really gets rid of these ridges really fast. So it is what it is. We're using it. Get these ridges out in here. And then we'll switch to a 60 grit. And with a 60 grit, we'll knock out the first part of these grooves that this 40 grit puts in here, and then we'll switch to an 80 grit, and then from an 80 grit we'll go to 120 grit, then from 120 grit we'll go to a 220 grit. And once we get the inside of the bowls taken care of, Then we'll come back with a trim router, and we'll do, with a trim router, we'll do a quarter round all the way around, and on the inside of the bowls. The finish that I put on this is just mineral oil, and I make my own board butter out of mineral oil and beeswax. It only takes maybe 40-45 minutes to do a mineral oil coating on it, and then the beeswax is the board butter is a 5-minute process. So conceivably within the next couple of hours, she should be able to use this. Just hope that it's what she wanted and that she's happy with it. All right, that part of it is done. So we're going to go back to the 60 grit. And with the 60 grit, we're going to, it works better if you can go with the grain. Oh, got just a little bit more right there. Thought we was done. All right, you guys don't want to sit here and listen to me talk for the next 30-40 minutes and watch me sand, so we're going to go ahead and cut the video off, or pause the video. We'll come back one more time when we're done doing the edging, and when we've put the finish on it and the finish is soaking in, we'll come back and we'll show you all the finished product. All right, we'll catch you guys later. Thank you all for coming in. And you know, I have a problem, not really a problem, I have a problem remembering to say this, but y'all like, subscribe, share, comment, you know what I mean? I got to get this stuff out, and I need comments. So comment, like, subscribe, share, and we'll catch y'all in a few minutes. Okay, this is the final part of the video, the closing, if you will. I've done a little bit of cleanup here, gotten rid of all the sawdust and all the other dust. We've done the majority of our sanding. We just have a couple of things left to do. We're going to do a water pop on this thing, and then we're going to come back with a 220 grit, and we're going to do a 220 grit in the bowl, a 220 grit in the top. We're putting the 220 grit on here right now. We're getting 220 grit from over here somewhere. 220 grit pad for inside of here. And the first thing we're going to do is what we call a water pop. Now the purpose of a water pop is to raise the grain so that when we do the finish on it, everything is nice and smooth. And so I've already put feet on the bottom, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to sand the bottom a little bit also. We're going to be real careful about sanding the bottom. We're going to hand sand around the feet, and then we're going to sand everything else. But another thing that the water pop does is it gives you a preview, an idea of what it's going to look like after the finish is on it. It brings that color out, and it kind of shows you what your final product is going to look like. Now, this isn't exact, right? Because it's water, not oil. The oil will darken the wood a little bit, and that's just normal. But we just use a spray bottle and we spray it, and this is what we are going to have. That's what it's going to look like, right? And really happy with it. I think overall it's a really solid board, and I would be happy to sell this. Now, a lot of people wait until the wood is completely dry in order to do this next step. Me, I let the standing water on it kind of soak in, and once it's soaked in, then I go ahead and start sanding. It's kind of like wet sanding, right? And so I think I get a little bit better result that way. Unfortunately, there's still some marks from the previous sanding that we did inside, and I don't know that I'm going to be able to get rid of them. You know, we tried, but they do make a sanding disc for a drill, and I will be investing in one of those, and maybe then I'll be able to get these last little scratches out of there. But by hand, it's almost impossible inside these bowls. On the surface, where you can use an orbital sander, they come out fairly easy. But inside these bowls like this, they're not so easy to get out. So all we're doing is wet sanding right now. Like I said, a lot of builders don't wet sand. They wait till it completely dries to sand, and that's okay. Either way will work. You know, if you want to wait till it completely dries, that's cool. But I like, and I feel like I get a little bit better results doing it this way. So that's what I'm going to do. And we're almost done. So I would say that this isn't my first YouTube channel, but it's my first YouTube channel where I focus on doing something like this. My last YouTube channel was a trucking channel. It's when I owned my trucking company, and I went through all the aspects of trucking. I had a few hundred videos, probably not 1,000. I had well over 200 videos up, and probably more than that. And I had over 5,000 followers. So I had a pretty good following, and I don't know what I would have lost had I just picked that channel up and changed direction with it and done this. Well, I could have started with 5,000 followers, you know, and in that case, I might have been able to attract some sponsors, or I might have been able to get where I could monetize my videos. But I decided, for a lot of reasons, not to do that. Mainly because the whole purpose of my other channel was trucking, and to change that, you've got 5,000 subscribers, and to change that, that's not what those guys came to that page for. It's not what they were following me for, and I just don't think that it would have gone over, and so yeah, I would have started with 5,000 subscribers, but I might have lost the majority of those. So I decided to start over, and I picked up subscribers pretty fast the last time. I mean, I was picking them up sometimes 100, 200 a week, and this has been a lot different. Getting this channel kicked back up and getting this channel going has really been a struggle. I haven't been doing it a long time. We just got the channel up a couple months ago, 2-3 months ago, and to be honest, I went for a long time without really doing much with it. I put one video up, kind of an introductory video, and it didn't really get any views. It didn't really get any comments. It didn't bring me any subscribers, and I don't know, man. Maybe I thought my time is best spent on things that have a tangible return, right? And so I just, I didn't follow through, and now I'm following through. But the whole YouTube social media thing can be pretty unforgiving. You know what I mean? And so I'm having a really hard time getting this channel kind of pushed and getting it to where I'm getting subscribers, and that can get a bit discouraging, and I'm not gonna lie, it can be, but I'm gonna stick with it, and I'm gonna hope that I can put out enough decent video quality that people will want to sit here, and they'll want to sit for an hour, and they'll want to watch, and if they do that, then that's great. That's awesome. I will try to keep future videos down to under 30 minutes. I do know that people don't want to sit and watch an hour-long video, so I understand that, and I'll work on that a little bit. You know, we'll leave more of the stuff out of here that doesn't need to be in there, and we'll focus a little bit more on stuff that does need to be in here, and we'll break things up a little bit more, and try to get it to where these videos are considerably shorter. But meanwhile, the video is what the video is, and hopefully you guys are willing to stick around and you know, and help me make this thing grow. So what I do ask is that anybody that stayed in here this long, obviously I'm doing something that interests you, and if that's the case, you know, let me know. Comment in the comments, and what I want to know to kind of get an idea of how many of you guys actually watch this far is to let me know, the 17 or 18 of you that are currently in here, and however many more people come in at a later time, let me know what it was that drew you to the channel. How did you come to be here? Was it because I invited you in a group, or I asked you to come in a group, or was it because you found it some other way? Let me know how you found the video, and let me know why you're in here, and then let me know what your critique is of my video. Right? What could I do better? Do I need to focus on making them a lot shorter? Do I need to put some more detail? Do I need to, you know, cut some stuff out? You know, let me know where you're at with it. Let me know. We've gotten around this stuff here. We're going to go ahead and hit the center part. It's going, you can't see it.
I designed it.
Okay, come to check it out. The wife's gonna come check it out. You gotta be on video though. Yeah. Check it out.
Good.
Can't put handles in it. There's not enough meat on the bones for handles, but it's light.
Okay.
Check it out.
Because you took half the weight off of it, but it's gonna be awesome. Yep.
I'm about to put the finish on it now. We're just gonna sand that top part, and then we'll put the finish on it.
It's gonna be perfect.
You like it?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All right, so we're just gonna sand around the edges, and then we're gonna put the finish on it.
How long does it have to soak in?
Each one's a little different, so it depends on how much. What I'll do is I'll put the mineral oil on it. Usually within the first 10 minutes or so, it's absorbed enough of it in, I can put another coat of mineral oil on it. A lot of times that second coat does the trick, but I may need to put 3 of that. You know, that last cutting board I did, I had to do 3 of them on there.
Right.
Or no, the cheese board, I had to do 3 of them, and then we're gonna put the board butter on it, and it's pretty much ready to go. So I would guess I'm about another hour, maybe.
So we can use it for dinner then.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Uh-huh. This is pretty much ready to go. I love these sanding pads. I got these sanding pads off of Amazon for like $8. And man, they sure do save a lot of wear and tear on the hands, especially on edges like this. They come in a package, a mixed package of 60 grit, 80 grit, 120 grit, and 220 grit. Really nice. All right, so now we're gonna hit it with the blowgun here. We'll just go ahead and turn that off. All right, first treatment on this is going to be mineral oil. That's all we're doing is just mineral oil. All right, it's first treatment on here. And this says it's Butcher Block Conditioner by Howard's. It's not Butcher Block Conditioner. It's just mineral oil. I reuse those bottles, and I buy my mineral oil in the gallon because I make so many boards that if I were to buy this thing of, which I did buy this, but you know, I've had that bottle for a long time. But if I were to buy this stuff in just those little 16-ounce bottles, I would probably go through one of those every few days, you know. And so I buy it by the gallon. A gallon will last me quite some time. I make my own board butter, so I treat my boards with my own board butter when I'm done here, and it does a really good job. So be generous with it. The object is to put enough of this stuff on that the board stops soaking it up. It is completely food safe, and it will not harm you at all. And when it doesn't absorb anymore, then you just wipe it off. But this is what the board is going to come out looking like when we're done with it. Of course, it won't be wet, but you know, this is what it's going to come out looking like. Oops, you don't have to put gloves on. A lot of people do, just because they don't want it on their hands. But this stuff is no more harmful to your skin than baby oil. Right? It's kind of got the same consistency as baby oil. It's, for the most part, it's odorless. It has no smell, and personally, I think it helps my hands. My hands are pretty rough because I'm constantly, you know, I work a lot with my hands, so my hands are pretty rough, and this always makes my hands feel better. Look at that. Look at that. All right, so that's it. We just let it soak. We let it soak. We will take some pictures before we post the video. We'll add the pictures in at the end of this video, but the finish is on it. We'll let that soak in for a few minutes, and then after it's soaked in, we'll put another coat on it, and we'll let that soak in until it stops soaking in. The next coat should go on in about 10 minutes. Anyway, I was saying something and I got sidetracked. So I was saying that my channel isn't big enough to attract any kind of a sponsor, and maybe it never will be because it's growing very, very slow. But if I ever could attract a sponsor to my channel, I would want it to be somebody like Crafted Elements, because their products are solid. I do a lot of work like this, and this would really fits in with my business model. So if I could get those products, you know, from Crafted Elements, it would certainly make my job a little bit easier. And so if we, you know, and I know if it does happen, it'll be a long time from now before it happens, but if it ever happened, and I got a sponsor, it would need to be, or I would want it to be, somebody like Crafted Elements, who would provide me with things for me to review and for me to teach on. And this is a Crafted Elements tray. We did this using a very basic template. All right, and from that we created this. This fit on here like that. We moved it over and we created that. Now, if Crafted Elements ever does watch this, again, I know that with my 18 subscribers right now, that it'll take a long time before they would even consider a sponsorship. But if anybody from Crafted Elements ever does watch this, then this right here is something you might want to consider making, right? This three bowl extended cookie or cracker tray deal. This is something that you might want to consider making. This really works well, and I really enjoyed doing it. I could have done it a little bit faster without the or if the template had 3 bowls and an extended cracker tray, but it is what it is. But that's my suggestion. I'm very happy with the Crafted Elements template. I'm very happy with this build. I'm very happy with the Skil router that I got, I really enjoyed this. We'll be doing more of these. So with that said, let's talk about cost, okay? And cost will be the last thing we talk about, then we're going to shut this video down and add pictures here in a little bit. On total material cost, we have give or take around maybe I don't even think it's 2 board feet. I mean, I could calculate it out real fast. Give me a second. Board feet is height times width. So we are at 1 inch in height. We are at roughly 12 inches in length, right at 12 inches in length. And we are at, it's a little long, so I'm going to say probably 13 inches in width. So we have 12 by 13. Is that 156? So yeah, we're at just over a board, or over 1 or 2 board feet. 156 divided by 12 is what it comes out to. 156, because this is 1 inch, so that doesn't even count. So it's length times width, because the other multiplier is 1. And so we're at now, I'm sorry, it's length, so we're at 12 inches, so 13 times 12, 13 times 1. 1 is your length. 13 times 13 divided by 12, we're at just over 1 board foot. Sorry, I went brain dead there for a second. We're at just over 1 board foot. So at 1 board foot, we're talking maybe $10 in material. We got 3 hours worth of actual work in it. That's not including the time that it took me to build the router template. I'm not counting the cost for the router or any of that in there. We're at about 3 hours in build time total. So we're looking at about a cost of about $85 for this, give or take. We could go up to $100 and probably be a little bit safer, because we need to add in the cost of material, not the cost of materials, but the cost of tool replacement, and all that. Typically I multiply by 1.5, but we're looking at $85 to $100 on this for sale. We're not selling it. This is for my wife, but if I were to sell it, it'd be $85 to $100. about what we'd sell it for. I'd be happy with that. I think that I can get my build time cut down a little bit if I had a template that I didn't have to take off and move. So moving the template, getting everything reset, having to cut the bowl 4 different times, because we did the shallow cut and then we did the deep cut and then we did a shallow cut and we did a deep cut. So we're making 4 cuts on here. Had I just been able to do the 2 cuts and just been able to do one router template on here, then we probably would have been talking more in the line of about $65 to $85 for this. But I'm gonna put it up when I do another one. I'm gonna put it up, the cheese board that I'm gonna do here next, we're gonna put up for $85 and see what happens. Right? So anyway, that's just my suggestion. If anybody from Crafted Elements ever sees this, my suggestion is to create this as a template with the 3 bowls and the extended long cracker tray, and and I think it'll sell. I think it'll do good. You all take care. We'll catch you later on. Thanks for dropping in. We'll show up some pictures when we're ready to set it up, and then we'll post this video. I really appreciate you guys. Thanks a lot. Peace out.